Everything you see here is strictly informational. Forex is a high-risk business. Please do not place trades with more money than what you don't have. Please do not trade other people's money. Do not borrow any money than what you cannot trade with. And please take everything that I say as a personal opinion. I am not considered a financial advisor. I'm not considered a broker. I am just one here simply recording my journey along learning the markets. Listen, I'm not a video maker. I'm not an expert on technology. I do have a MacBook, I have a microphone, I have a cool TV behind me that I can put some graphics on. So, that's me, alright? You're not going to get some fancy stuff. So if you expect that, I'm sorry. That being said, alright, the one everybody wants to talk about, gold. What the hell happened with gold this week? So if you remember my video from last week, I was saying you were an idiot if you were going to sell and you should continue to buy. Well, we saw that massive sell-off, I think over about 1,000 points, I think they said, within a day, some kind of historical moment. So I was played a fool, that's for sure. I did not expect. I mean, I would expect some kind of small sell-offs here and there, but I didn't expect that big of a huge drop-off. And if I'd have looked at probably a little bit of the technicals a little bit closer, I would have seen it coming. And I'll show you that in just a second. But that being said, I'm still bullish on gold. I do have an analysis that I think we're probably going to see play out. I have not seen other people's analysis. I'm not for sure if they agree. But I have my own, and I'll see if we come to fruition. So let's go ahead and get to the charts. I want to talk about what has happened. Alright, so I kind of drew this up to show you, what has happened and where we're at. So if I would have taken a closer look, so first of all, I guess I could say this trend line. This is probably, once we started going sideways for a little bit, back in, let's see here, was it June? Yeah, after we, stopped going sideways and we started going up. I drew a trend line from that point up. And that's exactly where we stopped, right? That's exactly where that sell-off finally ended, was where that trend line was. Now, if we take a closer look at what's happening at the top here, yeah, maybe I go to a 1 hour. I think that's where I saw it. You can see the divergence happening up at the top. So you start seeing it here, right? So here we're massively oversold, right? But we're still forming this higher, and this was 2 weeks ago, mind you. This was, right around here was the end of the week last week. Right around here was the end of the week, and then we started, because I remember I caught that drop on and I bought and it went back up. I sold off, but it came back down. Still managed to get a profit, and then we started going sideways toward the end of the week. I thought we were going to continue to buy, and then of course what happened in the week, we sold off. But if I would have looked at the RSI, I would have saw the clues and saw it coming. As you can see, we were massively oversold here. It started dropping off, but I was also looking at the previous one too. And we didn't get the drop then. We were massively oversold, and it started becoming weaker. But then again, the one thing that happens when it becomes weaker, you're also giving it more strength to push up. So that's like kind of the double-edged sword that you get with the divergence. And sometimes when it does get weaker, you're also giving it a little bit extra oomph to go back up. But here you can definitely see it start weakening into the point to where, it's right at that 70 level, and right at that 70 level, pretty much at that 70 level, was the top of the food chain, right? So we saw the first sell-off, which was before the last weekend, and then we saw it happen again this week. And this week it didn't even get to the 70 level. It was just like, screw it, dump. So I think the pressure was just building up, the selling pressure anyway, and we got right to that support resistance level. It was resistance, it turned support, it was support turned resistance. It hit that level and it just decided to drop. And I don't know if other people saw this, but this is definitely the trend line on the way down. Was from the top of that all the way to the bottom to where we stopped. Again, there's that trend line from back in June to where it stopped at. Now, interestingly enough, if you put a fib on it, it's also at the 50 mark. So if we throw a fib on it, it stops exactly at the 50 mark. So the fibs are also coming into play along with the trend lines. So here is what I kind of have forecasted for this, is that since these are all coming into play, my first thought, even when this was starting to drop, I think when it got to 1945 or something like that, which is about where it's at now, but when it did make a stop here for a little bit, and I was seeing Head and Shoulders. I posted it on TradingView, and I got a couple people giving me a laugh for it, being like, "Oh, that's the only setup you guys see is a head and a shoulders." And to be honest, it was the first time I ever called Head and Shoulders. I never called Head and Shoulders. I don't know. I just don't like Head and Shoulders. I just don't know what it is, but I just don't like Head and Shoulders. I'd rather use like a 3-wave pullback, or some kind of terminology like that. Which I think is what is actually going to be playing out. I don't think we're going to see a massive sell-off as a Head and Shoulders. So, because we are seeing these come into play, these Fibonacci lines, Fibonacci retracements, and all that come into play. What I think we're going to see once we dig down to the 1 hour is you're going to start seeing these wedges, right? And also, what you're probably going to see, we're still going to see something like a Head and Shoulders, right? So I have these, if you go back to this one, I have this gold line drawn to where this was basically resistance here, right? So you see this resistance to where it couldn't get above that 1980 level, and if it did, it got rejected and then came right back down. So I have that 1980 level drawn as a resistance, as well as I have the highest one before we took off, right? So it was around 1986 or so. Yeah, 1986. So I think what I personally believe is that we're going to come somewhere around that level, and then we are going to drop again. We're going to see another drop. So if we take a look at that with the Fibonacci, it kind of makes sense because that line is also the 236. Now, also, if we draw a trend line from the top here, I don't know why it didn't want to stay there. Draw a trend line from here all the way over to this trend line. We're just going to get one massive wedge. So wedge, wedge, wedge. That's what I think we're going to see. It's going to look like a Head and Shoulders, but it's going to be kind of a massive wedge. So I think we're going to get a push up very, very beginning of the week. It'll probably end up right around where I think it's going to end up, around that 1980 level. So if we do a little rectangle, probably somewhere right in here, right? After it, I think it'll probably wedge up, maybe pull back again, do another wedge up, hit that, and then we'll probably see another massive sell-off, right? And then it'll continue to wedge, right? And it'll continue to wedge until we finally get out of this main trend line that we have already established. That's what I see, and I just think that that's what's going to come to fruition. But and then again, once we finally get out of this main trend line, I still think this could give us some trouble, but I don't see gold going anywhere soon. Main reasons I don't see gold going anywhere anytime soon. The fundamentals are just there. The dollar is just being absolutely weak, and it continues to be weak. You see it have some kind of success, then it'll drop back down, and it'll come up a little bit, then it'll drop back down. And also, we got some news this past week that Mr. Moneymaker himself, Warren Buffett, hello, that was loud. Mr. Warren Buffett has invested in gold stocks, also gold mining stocks. So they waited for that pullback. They waited for that pullback before they started investing. They didn't want to invest when it got to its peak. They knew it was going to pull back. They saw that there's value in it. First, I was watching the Peter Schiff show, and he was talking about Warren Buffett and how Warren Buffett always said gold, was nothing because it doesn't pay a dividend, it doesn't do this, it's just it really it doesn't produce anything. But the fact is, gold is money, and we need money to make transactions and live in everyday life. Well, if people are starting to get off the fiat money system, if people are starting to lose faith in the dollar, because that's basically what replaced gold. We got off the gold standard in, what was it, 1971, something like that. Got the gold standard in 1971. People just replaced it with the American dollar. Well, if the American dollar is starting to fail, and it failed in 2008, like hardcore. But gold didn't really. Yeah, that's when we started to see the gold kind of rise in 2011. It made its high. Somehow we did the quantitative easing, and we got everybody to believe that the fiat dollar system was still going to work. So it kind of shifted everything, pulled gold back, made the dollar get a little bit stronger. Now that we're spending and spending and spending, and that we're borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, I think people aren't really believing it this time. And so we're going to start seeing people look at gold and silver as if, hey, these are actually going to be the new currencies. I know I've read things in the past to where, China has been buying up a lot of gold. People are putting that in their reserves rather than printing fake money, right? It's because gold has to, or your money has to be backed by something. Right now, it's just backed by faith that it's actually worth something. I don't know how much longer that can actually last. So that being said, I think we're still going to see this huge push in gold. I don't think we're anywhere near the top. I think we have just begun. I've been listening to Peter Schiff for a very long time, and this is what he's always been talking about. The rise of gold. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, and I think we're just now starting to see it happen. It's been tinkering around for a little bit too long. Now that we're in a crisis, a global pandemic, people are starting to see, what the money system actually is. And, if this money that we're actually printing, because once you print too much, it loses value, and that's why we're losing so much value. Can it be paid back? Well, we don't know if the economy can never come back. So all these things coming into play is giving gold a lot of reasons to be bought, to hedge it, and for it to continue on. Now, that being said, I think right now people are, they're undecided because it did just have that massive sell-off. They're thinking, gold already. Some people are going to be like, gold already had its top. We're going to sell. Some people are going to say, no, gold is still, on the rise. We're going to buy. So I think that's why we're going to kind of see what, I think we're going to see, the rise up, the wedge. It'll sell off, break out of the wedge, continue up. I still think this is going to take quite some time, probably the rest of the month, maybe even longer before we see another new high. But I think this is the forecast that I see. As far as the technicals kind of go along the lines of what I'm saying, between people going back and forth. Be careful with gold. Make sure you're smart when you're trading it. Understand where your wedges are. Trade the wedge properly. Use proper lot sizes. Don't think it's going to turn around and just blow up just because Warren Buffett decided to buy a bunch of stocks in it. It could. You never know. People could also think, oh, he's late to the game. People could say he's early to the game. There's a lot of speculation around gold, so I'm going to be playing it safe. I think this is probably what's going to happen. And then we'll see what's going to happen throughout the week. Hopefully, what I want to try to do is I want to try to post more videos throughout the week, giving updates to see how things have come along. Because I'm starting to analyze a little bit more in depth than just taking a quick look at a chart. We'll see what's going to happen. As far as the other indicators are concerned, if we look at the MACD, we came up above the zero level. The signal on the MACD line came above the zero level. We saw a little bit of a pullback, and I think it's gonna go up again, So I think we're seeing that swing. It's hitting that zero level right about now. We're probably gonna see that pull up, hit that head and shoulders level, come back down, and then we'll do it all over again, and then until we can finally get back up. But this is definitely just part one of a pullback. If we're gonna do like an ABC type of thing. We're at zero. This is A, this is B, C is over here. So, we're still looking at quite some time before, and I don't even know if that's accurate. Here, let me even look at this one. So let's do the ABC on this one, just for shits and giggles. Why not? So let's go with 0, A, B, and then C would probably be somewhere over here wherever it's going to wedge again, and then we'll probably see a takeoff after that. So yeah, I would say we still probably have maybe until the end of the week. Looks like we have we'll probably see it somewhere around the end of the week to see if we are going to continue upwards, or if it gets below this trend line here, then we're going to see the sell-off, right? So that's my 2 cents. I hope you guys got something out of this. If you can, check out my video on S&P, the SPX, what we're going to see on it this week. I believe something similar is going to happen. We're going to see a pullback in that as well. I'll try to see what I can come up with on the next video. But these are the two I primarily trade. I primarily trade the SPX. I primarily trade gold. Primary reasons I trade those is you can trade them with small account. Just use low lot sizes, and you can actually grow your account pretty quick as long as you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing and you're just throwing lot sizes out there, you can lose money really, really fast. But I like it better than using currencies, just because the currency pairs can take a while to get 30 pips, and that's not my style. I'm not a position trader. I'm a scalper primarily. So that's just me. If you're a position trader, hopefully you can get something out of my videos as well. This is what I think is going to happen. If you guys have thoughts, concerns, you have your own analysis, you want to share your video with me, you want to hit me up on TradingView and form a group and we can talk about SPX and gold only or something like that, I don't care. Hit me up. I'm actually a nice guy, believe it or not. I'm not an a-hole. You can find me. You can @ me at Tedsley. I'll include my TradingView and stuff like that, and I'll include my my Telegram as well. We can share some ideas and hopefully make some money while we share ideas. But thank you for watching, and I will see you guys out on the trading floor in just about 2 hours. All right, hope you had a good weekend, and stay